Hey, y'all. Hey. Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday, I believe it is. Is that a Tuesday? Yeah, it's Tuesday. All right. Sorry. I am so sorry that I have not been live in a while. I got really sick. I had a fever and all the chills and all the things. Those bad news bears. But I rallied. I'm feeling better. Not 100%, but I'm like 89. So close enough, right? I'm never really 100%. So this is good enough, right? I rallied. I said, listen, I cannot not be live when Johnny Depp testifies, right? So that's where we're at. Let me say hi to you guys. Hey, Nonstop Mom, Renee New, Shamita, Michelle N, Amelia, Christine Elizabeth. I don't know if you're still here, but I'm going to stream it. So whatever you want to do, you can stay or you can watch the trial somewhere else. Miss, I'd like for you to stay, but if you don't, it's cool. Mrs. O, Dave G, good morning, good morning, good morning. Wow. So, oh, thank you, Amelia. I appreciate that so much. I'm glad that you guys accept me, faults and all, because Lord knows there's lots of those. Hey, Mia. All right. So let me just jet over to this channel over her and see what's going on. Now, this is what I will say. They are live right now. However, nothing has started yet, so I'm just gonna chill here until it actually starts. Now, the deal is this is within fair use if there's commentary. So I've got to have commentary. I'm going to do my very best, obviously, to have the commentary not interfere with the testimony. And also, I don't know specifically when Johnny is going to testify. Now, I would expect that he is either going to be the first witness or the second witness, because I would expect his testimony to be long, and that's just his direct. And then, of course, we're going to have cross-examination. And what I'll say is this about the testimony. A lot of people feel, thank you, Shamita. A lot of people are on the fence about should Johnny and Amber testify. And what I'll say is, in my opinion, yeah, they both need to testify, right? Because let's be honest here. When you do a trial is comprised of the jury, of the jury is are supposed to be your peers. Now, I'm going to be extra stuttery today because I did have my 5-hour, but my coffee ain't quite kicked in yet. So just be patient with me. I'll get it out. Okay. Thank you, Mia and Shmita. I'll keep an eye out. But anyway, so it's supposed to be a jury of your peers, right? Well, let's be real here. A jury of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp's peers are not the average citizens of the United States. It's just the truth. Not only is Johnny Depp incredibly wealthy, I mean, put a 1 in chat if you or somebody you know owns an island. And I mean, you got to like know them, not all the way like in the big biblical sense of knowing, but you got to be able to call them on the phone or at least send them a text and have them respond. Okay. The average citizen and the people that that comprise this jury, they don't have that. So they are going to, in my opinion, they're going to have to testify in order to humanize themselves to the jury. I think Johnny Depp is going to be just fine testifying, frankly. I think that even on cross-exam, which are always difficult, I still think he's going to do well. Amber, on the other hand, I'm concerned about her testimony because I think during her direct examination, I mean, that's your team. They've prepped you. It is what it is. Those are, generally speaking, easier goes than, you know, cross-examination. But I will say this. I have been watching all of the things with respect to this trial. And one of the things that I've been watching is Amber Heard and Johnny Depp's body language during the trial when the camera pans over to them. And the fact of the matter is that Amber Heard does not have a poker face, period. She isn't good at it. And there have been multiple times when she has made a face, when there has been, you know, testimony. I mean, look, her face reacts to testimony that she doesn't like. It's just the truth. It is what it is. So as you can see, there is the, they're starting to come in now. And I'll say this, well played, Law and Crime, because they done made their watermark bigger. Oh, all right, so let's see what's going on.
He comes out. Wow, okay, that's a good day. All right, if we could have the witness, Mr. Bett, come back to the stand. Is he here or is he outside?
That's a little loud for me.
All right, just so we can be ready to go.
I agree, Shmita. I think that the minute she is I'm going to leave it here, Shmita. I don't care about this. I just think it's funny that they changed it. That's all. This is under fair use. I'm providing commentary, opinion, and education. You're all going to see how Jen rolls in the morning. You'll learn something new. I'm pretty sure that pretty much covers fair use. So, yeah. I think that
All right, so if you can come back to the stand, please.
I think it's going to be very easy to get her flustered on the stand, and that is very detrimental.
That's fine. Thank you.
So there you go. I've seen him laugh more than I've seen him actually make a face. You know what I mean? I've seen him, hey, X amount of words. Yeah, I've seen him laugh at testimony. But yeah. I just appreciate you guys all being here with me and be patient with me because I've been gone for a second, and yeah. So let me see what's going on here. All right, hang on a minute.
All right, you can have a seat, Mr. Bett. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All right, just a reminder, Mr. Bett, that you're still under oath, okay? All right, thank you. All right, cross-examination.
Good morning, Mr. Bett.
Good morning.
You're a full-time employee of Mr. Depp, correct?
That's correct.
You've been working with Mr. Depp for about 15 years,
Give or take, correct.
and you make a salary from Mr. Depp, right?
I do.
And in your role, one of your top priorities is to make sure Mr. Depp is safe and that if he's out, he gets home safely, correct?
That's correct.
And Mr. Depp's safety is a priority over others that may be out with Mr. Depp, correct?
His safety along with the safety of the people that are around him.
But Mr. Depp's safety is the top priority, correct?
Correct.
That just goes without saying, right? In your role as his chief of security, right? And your job as security is to remain discreetly in the background, right?
Correct.
You were not part of Mr. Depp's family, right?
Correct.
You're not with him 24/7, right?
Correct.
And you weren't with him 24/7 when he was in a relationship with Miss Heard, correct?
Correct.
And you obviously have no personal knowledge of what happens when you're not around, correct?
That's correct.
And you have no personal knowledge of what happens behind closed doors with Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
You weren't, when Mr. Depp was in a relationship with Miss Heard,
Well, that specific bedroom door in his Los Angeles house, it has a tricky lock to it. So it's, there have been times where I've gone upstairs and maybe had a glass of water for him. And so I would have to open that door for him. Correct.
right? So you've gotten him into bed, you've gotten him some water, you've asked him if he needs anything, right?
Correct.
In times when he's been impaired, correct?
And times when he's just had breakfast and some coffee.
And you've stayed with him and during times when he's been impaired. There's times when you've stayed with him until he lays down and you tell him good night and that you'll see him the next day, right?
I wouldn't stay with him. I just would say goodnight. I'm going home and I'll see you tomorrow. Or if I happen to have a few days off, I'll see you in a few days.
Sorry about the technical
Yesterday,
difficulties there.
You've actually prevented people from calling the police when Mr. Depp's behavior after drinking was bothering them, haven't you?
Prevented people?
Mhm.
There was one time, correct?
Yeah, and in that occasion, Mr. Depp and some other people had a couple perfect bottles of wine and pounded an entire bottle of tequila, right?
I don't remember how much they had to drink, no. I know there was drinking going on.
Mr. Depp told you that they had a couple bottles of perfect wine and pounded an entire bottle of tequila, right?
I don't remember. That was some time ago.
Heather, can you pull up Exhibit 892, please?
Is the volume okay for you guys?
Mr. Bett, is this a text exchange that you had with Mr. Depp on September 1st, 2017 at 2:34 to 2:36 in the afternoon?
Okay, good.
If you just give me a moment, let me put my glasses on.
Sure, take your time.
I have a hard
I switched to a different stream and
okay, much better.
Now I have like, it says 2 tabs
Can you
and
repeat
stop
that,
sharing, and
statement
I'm
of question?
scared
Sure. My
to
question
click
was this:
it
is this a text exchange that
because I don't
you
want to lose the
and Mr.
stream.
Depp
So I'm
had,
just going to leave it like it is.
on September 1st, 2017, from 2:34 to 2:36 in the afternoon?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance, the date, this is well after.
What's the relevance of 2017?
The relevance is that Mr. Bett testified yesterday that he'd seen Mr. Depp have a glass or two of wine, and this is direct evidence to contradict that.
All right, I'll allow it. All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
There's no time frame. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, according to the timestamp and date, that is a text message from Mr. Depp and I.
And at 2:34 p.m., Mr. Depp texts you, steaks were excellent, pondering, though we'll likely have dinner here. Steaks were excellent, a couple of bottles of perfect wine. We then pounded an entire bottle of tequila, 3 exclamation points. Then the savagery commenced, 2 exclamation points. Good morning, 3 exclamation points. Did I read that right?
You did. And there's an X and fascia after that.
And then you told Mr. Depp that you said, I prevented them from calling Popo.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay. Also improper impeachment.
That's for the context of the text. When he testified that he had prevented him from calling.
I'll allow it.
Thank you, Your Honor. So then, Mr. Bett, you texted Mr. Depp back 2 minutes later, and you said, I prevented them from calling Popo. Glad you had fun. You mean dinner in room or restaurant? Do you see that?
I do.
And you sent that text to Mr. Depp, correct?
I did.
And by Popo, you mean police, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You told him that you were glad he had fun, right?
Right.
Your Honor, move for admission of Exhibit 892 and permission to publish.
Our objection is relevance. This is well past the relationship between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard.
Okay. If it was just used for impeachment, why would it come into evidence?
Well, it's Mr. Depp's statements about what he did when he pounded an entire bottle of tequila and the savagery that
Well,
commenced go
if you-
toward his use of alcohol. That's
In
much greater than.
In 2017?
Mhm.
I'll sustain the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're aware that Mr. Depp has used drugs, right?
I am.
And you've helped facilitate Mr. Depp's drug use on occasion, correct?
I haven't.
I'm sorry?
I haven't.
You have not?
I have not.
Heather, can you pull up Exhibit 967, please?
Oh, here we go. Exhibit 967. Is it going to be a purchase order for the cocaine? Like, come on. If by facilitating he means turn the other,
Mr. Bett,
close his
feel
eyes.
free to take the time that you need to review this.
I don't
document, familiarize
understand.
yourself with it. But my first question for you is just, is this a text exchange that you had with Mr. Depp on June 12th, 2019?
June 12th. According to these transcripts, yeah, it has my name and his name on there.
Right. And if it starts at the bottom and goes up, correct?
No, I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention to the timestamps.
That's okay.
My
It's
apologies.
hard to orient yourself with these sometimes.
Okay, at the bottom, yeah, I do see 6/12/19 at 1:50 p.m.
And then the more recent texts are as you go up the page, right?
Correct.
So in the bottom text, you're telling Mr. Depp that some people are at his house visiting, and you say they'll be at the pool in 10,
Objection, Your
right?
Honor, hearsay. Also relevance. This is 2019.
What's the relevance?
He just testified that he hadn't helped facilitate Mr. Depp's drug use, so this is for impeachment, and you got to read the text in context to see how it impeaches him.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Approach, please.
Yeah, let's approach because this makes 0 sense. I'm not touching anything at this point. Everything is doing well. The video is good. The audio is good. The streaming is streaming. I will not cross the streams. We don't need dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. Also, I always enjoy a good Ghostbusters quote. You know, that's one of my fave movies. I really don't No, I'm not. Schmida sent me a different one, and so I'm not using theirs because I understand I'm using it under fair use, but it is a bit of a hassle to fight those claims. So Schmida felt this would be better, so I'm going to use this one instead. But yeah.
Mr. Bett, you communicate with Mr. Depp through texts, correct?
I do.
That's your primary way of communicating with him?
Yeah,
Not
I've heard
primary,
that
but if I
nonstop,
happen to
Mom,
be in
that
his
they're
presence, we'll
sorry.
communicate.
Sure, but in terms of written communications, texting is the way that you guys primarily communicate, right?
Correct.
And that's the same thing the same way that you communicate primarily with his other employees or with his family as well, right?
Yes.
You have a practice of deleting all of your texts with him at the end of the day or week, correct?
That's correct.
So there wouldn't be text from his time when he was in a relationship with Amber Heard that you have possession of, correct?
That's correct.
You've never seen Amber do something that you would call physically violent or an assault of Mr. Depp, correct?
Other than when I testified that she threw a water bottle or a plastic cup in his direction.
But that you wouldn't consider that physically violent or an assault of him, correct?
Well, in California, it's assault if you go to attempt to swing or throw something at somebody, even if you don't hit them.
You all right?
I mean,
Okay, you're standing. Okay.
you asked
That's
him. See, that the yellow cup is going to be like the red car. Now we're going to have a
Mr.
yellow
Bett, do you
cup in
remember
every
giving a
case from
deposition
now
in this
until
case?
the end of time.
I do.
And you were under oath for that deposition, correct?
I was.
And I asked you a number of questions, right?
You asked me several, yes.
I did. And if you can turn to page 111 of this transcript, please.
This is the
On page
security
28
card that
of the document.
is also a cop, isn't he? Or was a cop?
Okay.
And if you look at line 22, the last line, and then heading over to page 112, you see that?
Got it.
That's what I thought
And
nonstop, Mom. They
in
shouldn't have
your
asked him that
deposition,
question.
I asked you this question, and you gave this answer.
Hey, Hope for
Question.
Peace.
So is it fair to say that while you've seen Miss Heard yell and get emotional toward Johnny, you've never seen her do something that you would call physically violent or assault of Johnny? Answer, correct. Did I read that right?
You did.
I'd like to turn to May 21st, 2016. That was the incident that we talked about last night, right before we adjourned for the day, correct?
Correct.
You and Mr. Jerry Judge brought Mr. Depp over to the penthouses at the Eastern Columbia building that night, right?
We did.
And you knew that he was going there to speak with Amber, correct?
And gather some belongings.
Your understanding was that Mr. Depp was going over there because they both wanted to talk and calm everything down, right?
Objection calls for speculation as to what Ms. Heard wanted.
I'll sustain the objection.
Mr. Depp told you that he and Amber were going to talk it out and talk about what's going on, correct?
Correct.
And he had wine in the car on the way over. I believe you testified yesterday, right?
He did have a glass of wine.
And I think you testified it's possible he had been drinking during the day before you brought him over there, correct?
Correct. I saw him with a wine glass after his meeting when he came out into the hallway.
And when you,
Hey,
no, I'm
Angry
sorry,
Mimi,
during
let
the
me
day
let me
before
turn
you
it up
picked him
just a
up
little
to go
bit
over
and
to
see
the
if that
Eastern Columbia
helps.
building, it's possible he'd been drinking, correct?
Well, we were at a meeting. He did have a glass of wine in his hand, so I presume he was drinking.
And when you arrived at the Eastern Columbia building, you can't say one way or the other whether Mr. Depp was carrying wine with him into the building, right?
I can't remember.
You and Mr. Judge let him into Penthouse 3 and were in there for just a minute or two before you exited Penthouse 3, correct?
Yes, give or take.
And then you stayed outside in the hallway of Penthouse 3 for a bit, right?
A short period of time, correct.
I think you testified yesterday like 10 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah, give or take.
And then from there, you went from the hallway outside of Penthouse 3 to Penthouse 5, the storage area where you had a couch and a TV and that sort of thing that you testified about, right?
That's correct.
Is that also known as the guard shack?
A modified version of the guard shack. It's just a place for us, as I testified yesterday, to, rest or have lunch or some coffee.
Sometimes called the cubby hole, is that right?
We might have called that. I can't remember what.
Okay, just to orient us, Heather, can you please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 116? And Your Honor, I believe this has already been entered into evidence.
I do believe so. Yes, it's in evidence.
Can you rotate that, please?
Just while we're waiting for them to orientate themselves and rotate
Counterclockwise.
things, I'd just like to comment on the full size bottles of water. I don't know if the court is providing those or if these people are bringing them themselves.
And then maybe
However,
just
in
order
other
it, please.
trials that we've seen, you get the sample size water. I just wanted to point that out. It has
And
nothing
Your
to
Honor,
do with
permission to
anything.
publish if it's
is
not already.
published.
Thank you.
Just something I've noticed.
So, Mr. Bett, if you, just to orient us, am I correct in saying that well, could you put your finger just on the guard shack area?
Oh, you're
Penthouse
welcome,
5?
Angry Mimi. I'll turn it up all the way. It is a little low.
Sure.
if you
It's
touch the
just
screen, it will.
the diagram, the schematics is kind of off
Okay.
because the way Broadway is set up, it doesn't coincide with the way the buildings were. But I can make an attempt to show you where
Yeah, just, I think the screen will make a mark if you show on it.
okay.
Hey, Tony, good to see ya.
I mean, I'm having a,
Well, I'm not
Okay,
seeing any
okay,
marks. Okay, good.
So this is, I'd say right in this area right here.
Okay,
Is it showing up?
Yes.
Because there would be elevators to the right.
it is.
Okay,
Yep,
Okay.
that's showing up.
okay,
So that's down the hall from outside of Penthouse 3, right?
correct.
And you stayed in that guard shack for, I believe you said 5 to 10 minutes. Is that right?
Yes,
So if you spent about 10 minutes outside Penthouse 3 and then 5 to 10 minutes inside the guard shack, you say you were at the building for what, a total of 30 minutes or so?
it could have been a little bit longer. It could have been 40. It could have been closer to an hour. It was quite some time ago.
But you're fairly confident it was 40 minutes to an hour?
Around that time frame, correct.
And you said that you arrived at the building sometime between 7:15 and 7:45. Is that what you said yesterday?
Yeah.
What's your
around-
best guess?
It would be an estimate guess, maybe more towards 8-ish. But again, it could have been 7:30.
Okay. More towards 8-ish. All right. And so you stayed in the guard shack for 5 to 10 minutes, and then you left the guard shack and headed back up the hall toward the door of Penthouse 3, right?
Yes,
And at some point you heard Amber shouting and you let yourself into Penthouse 3, right?
that's correct.
The closest you got to Amber when you went into Penthouse 3 was 15 to 20 feet, right?
Around that, correct.
And you were in Penthouse 3 for just about 30 seconds to a minute before you left again with Mr. Depp, right?
Around that time frame.
You don't remember what Ms. Heard was wearing, do you?
I don't.
And you can't remember if she was crying when you saw her, right?
I didn't see her crying.
You can't remember if she was crying, right?
I just said I didn't see her crying.
She could have been crying, right?
Objection calls for speculation and asked and
I
answered.
was just going to say
It's
it's
a different question.
completely asked and answered.
And you can't remember if she had any makeup on or not, right?
If she did, she had very little.
You just can't remember if she did, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's possible, but it was a long time ago.
Turn to page 160, please, in your deposition.
Okay,
Hey,
that'd be
Smalls.
page 40 as well.
Page 40, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good to see ya.
And on line 1, I asked you the question, did Miss Hurd have any, you couldn't tell if she was wearing any makeup, right? Your answer was, I can't remember if she had any makeup on or not. Did I read that right?
You did.
Yes, the miracle cream.
And you don't know you have no personal knowledge of what transpired in Penthouse 3 while you were outside of it that evening, correct?
I don't.
And you have no personal knowledge of whether Amber had a phone thrown in her face by Johnny Depp that evening, correct?
I don't.
Because you weren't there, right?
That's correct.
So you left Penthouse 3, and then you went into Penthouse 5 at Mr. Depp's insistence that he get into Penthouse 5, right?
And that's correct.
And he was agitated at this time, right?
I'm sorry. You said I went into Penthouse 3 or Penthouse 5 at this time?
I'm sorry. You left Penthouse 3 after 30 to 60 seconds with Mr. Depp and Mr. Judge, and you went to Penthouse 5, right?
Correct.
And that's because Mr. Depp was demanding to get into Penthouse 5, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Depp was agitated at this time, right?
Yeah, I'd say he was agitated.
And one of the reasons that you could tell that he was agitated was because this wasn't the first time you had seen him agitated, right?
Well, no.
Mr. Depp told you to let him into Penthouse 5, and you did that, right?
Yes.
And when he left Penthouse 3 to go to Penthouse 5, you can't remember if he had wine in his hand or not, correct?
I can't.
I'm sorry?
I can't.
Cannot?
Cannot.
And when he walked into Penthouse 5, inside were Rocky Pennington, her fiance Josh Drew, and another woman and a dog, right?
That's correct.
And Mr. Depp told them to get out of his penthouse, right?
Yes,
And they exited, right?
they did.
And you can't remember one way or the other whether Mr. Depp knocked anything off the table in any of the penthouses, right?
It's possible he did, but I can't remember.
Did you or Mr. Judge, just to be clear, did you or Mr. Judge destroy any property or knock anything off tables in any of the penthouses that evening?
No.
Thank you, X amount of words. That's
You
so
have no
sweet.
personal knowledge of whether or not Mr. Depp was
I
violent to
appreciate
Ms. Hurd
that.
at times when you weren't around them, correct?
I have no knowledge.
And Ms. Hurd may have suffered injuries at the hands of Mr. Depp over the years that you didn't witness or you didn't see, correct?
Correct.
I'd like to end by just taking a look at the videos of you entering and exiting the building, I believe. Heather, could you pull up Exhibit 672? And Your Honor, I believe that these were part of Mr. Patterson's deposition and that they've been admitted.
I do have.
I find that
672
last
admitted,
question
correct?
a little
Yes.
annoying because I don't, what
And the
if
next
he's
one will
at
be
work?
666. just
Did
to
he expect
confirm.
him to answer and say,
Okay.
yeah, I went
Thank you,
on a
Your Honor.
whole Hulk smash rampage? Who
Heather,
Hulk
could you play
smashes at
this
work?
starting at 1? Well, actually, before we start, do you see this on your screen, Mr. Bett?
I do.
And you see the timestamp that at the bottom, that shows what time the camera, the video was taken, correct?
I see the timestamp in the date.
Okay, let's go ahead and play this, Heather. Start at 1:55.
Now, I'm going to say already the drawback to this stream is the fact that they don't show what's being shown, which is annoying.
And that's you in that black and white shirt, right?
Oh, that's me.
That's Mr. Depp in the hat,
Correct.
and that's Mr. Judge to his left.
Correct.
But I'll tell you what, when I come live later, I know what they're showing. So
This
I
video is when
will
you're entering
show it to you guys.
the Eastern Columbia building to take him to penthouse 3, correct?
Correct.
So it's actually a good bit earlier than you testified to, right? It's at 7:02. If I'm converting military time to,
Well, that's what the timestamp says. I mean, I don't know how it was calibrated and so forth, but according to the screen, it does say 1902 hours, which is 7:02.
7:02 p.m., right?
Correct.
On May 21st, 2016.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Heather, you can take that down, please. Please pull up Exhibit 666.
Oh, no. That's an interesting evidence number. Yikes on bikes.
And you see that the timestamp on this video is, well, let's go ahead and play the video first. And that's you on the right again, right?
It is.
And that's
I-
Mr. Judge in the middle.
Yeah, I
right?
think that it is X
Yes.
amount of
And
words.
that's Mr. Depp on the left.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
I don't want to
And
rub
the
it in
timestamp on this video is
to nonstop, Mom.
20:29
I'm
or
not going to tell you what
8:29
it's like in the
PM, right?
Floridas.
That's correct.
So you were actually in the Eastern Columbia building for about an hour and a half that evening, right?
Well, according to these timestamps, yes, it does say that. It didn't seem like it was that long.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
redirect.
Mr. Bett, you previously testified that when you left penthouse 3 and went into penthouse 5, who was inside that penthouse when you entered with Mr. Depp?
Josh Drew, an unknown female, and a little dog.
Was Ms. Pennington inside penthouse 3 when you entered with Mr. Depp?
I'm sorry, you said penthouse 5, didn't you? Am I getting my numbers?
You're right. My apologies. Let
I'm
me start
sorry.
over. It's confusing. When you left penthouse 3 and
Mhm.
went into penthouse 5, who was inside? Let's try this again.
Okay. Josh Drew, an unknown female, and cute little dog.
Where was Ms. Pennington? Was she inside penthouse 3 when you entered? Or penthouse 5 when you entered?
She was not in penthouse 5, no.
Where was the last place you saw Ms. Pennington on May 21st?
She was standing next to Miss Heard in penthouse number 3.
I think
Angry
there's also
Mimi.
A little bit of confusion about April 21st, 2016 and May 21st, 2016. So let's start with April 21st, 2016. What occurred?
Objection just to the Ms. Vasquez testifying.
I'm just trying to orient the witness,
Okay,
Your
well,
Honor.
go ahead.
I'll try to
Thank you.
limit that. Where was Mr. Depp on April 21st, 2016?
On April 21st, he was at a meeting in his production office.
And I believe you testified previously that you saw him holding a glass of wine. Is that right?
Correct.
Did he appear intoxicated to you after that meeting?
He didn't.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
He did not.
He did not. Okay. Now, on May 21st, 2016, was Mr. Depp drinking wine that day?
He did have wine with him, yes, correct.
And at what point did you observe Mr. Depp with wine on May 21st, 2016?
He probably had it in the car with him when we were driving down. And he could have finished it prior to us walking to Penthouse 3.
And did Mr. Depp, based on your observations, Mr. Bett appear intoxicated to you on May 21st, 2016, before he arrived to the Eastern Columbia building?
He didn't.
He did not.
He did not.
He does need to enunciate, and in fact, just stop saying didn't. Say did not.
Did you ever observe anything that made you concerned for Ms. Heard's safety?
Objection, foundation, and leading.
I'll allow it if you can answer. That's fine.
I did not.
What, if anything, did you observe that made you concerned for Mr. Depp's safety?
From the injuries I saw on his face when on a few occasions I took photos of him.
Nothing further. Thank
All
you,
right.
Your Honor.
Is this witness subject to recall?
No, Your Honor.
All right, not subject to recall,
No,
correct? Okay, all right, so you're free to go, or you can have a seat in the courtroom. It's up to you, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good day, sir. All right, your next witness,
Thank you, Your Honor. Plaintiff calls Keenan Wyatt.
Keenan Wyatt. Could you
Okay,
spell that
so
name for me?
obviously not Johnny Depp.
Keenan, last name Wyatt, W-Y-A-T-T.
All right, thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you, Your Honor.
Mr. Wyatt.
Amelia, I think the deal is this. Remember when Isaac testified? Yes, we're on a first name basis. Isaac and I are. He's the one that testified to the wine being spilled. So and Amber Heard changing the locks, and that was May 21st. Okay. I think that part of that testimony and the elevator footage was to show that. Because remember, Amber told Isaac that that Johnny got out of control or something to that effect. I think that's what they're trying to show with that elevator video. To be quite honest with you guys, sometimes I'm better at the criminal trials and understanding what they're attempting to do because I'm more familiar with the criminal trial process as a layperson. I cannot give any advice at all legally. I'm not an attorney. This is just for entertainment purposes only. I understand their process better. I'm not as familiar with a defamation lawsuit and the civil litigation. So we're all going to learn together. Seven hours later. Where's this witness located? Did he leave the building? Is he at the 7-Eleven? What is happening? Thank you, X amount of words, for telling us who all the people are, because sometimes I forget or get confused. Oh, we're getting sworn in now. Okay, good. Yes, it is very different. And the level of, what the level of evidence and all of that, very, very different. Very different.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Wyatt.
Morning.
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Keenan Wyatt,
Mr. Wyatt, where do you live?
Thousand Oaks, California.
What do you do for a living?
Excuse me. I'm a sound technician on feature films.
How long have you been a sound technician on feature films?
Over 35 years.
Oh, wow.
Would you please briefly describe for the jury what a sound technician on films does?
Well, technically just do the dialogue recording while on the set, so it's as clean as possible.
Do you know Johnny Depp?
Yes, I do.
How do you know Mr. Depp?
I've known Johnny for over 25 years, and we're good friends.
Have you ever worked with Mr. Depp?
Yes, I have.
For how many of Mr. Depp's films have you worked with him as the sound technician?
Dozens of films.
Would you please just name a few of them for the jury if you can remember?
I've done the 5 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, Alice in Wonderland, Rum Diary, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Ninth Gate, Lone Ranger, number of films.
What part did Mr. Depp play in the 5 Pirates of the Caribbean movies?
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Are you, Mr. Wyatt, are you currently employed by Mr. Depp?
No,
Have you ever been employed by Mr. Depp?
no,
Have you ever been paid by Mr. Depp?
no.
Have you ever worked for any of Mr. Depp's companies?
Yes, I worked for Infinitum Nile.
When was the last time you worked for Infinitum Nile?
Last time I was there was probably 2017. I worked on a contract basis with them, not as an employee.
And would you very briefly describe for the jury what work you did for Infinitum Nile in 2017?
I ran the media library with them, did some archiving, recording, editing, things like that.
How would you describe briefly your working relationship with Mr. Depp in the 25 years or so that you've worked together?
Johnny's great to work with on films. He always comes very prepared and knows what he wants to do and makes it for a fun day when we're shooting.
With what directors have you and Mr. Depp worked together?
Many directors. But,
Hey,
we've
Max.
done several films, multiple films with multiple directors, like Tim Burton, Gore Verbinski, Rob Marshall. We've done multiple films with them.
I would
Why
like
did
also
you
like
and
to work
Mr.
with
Depp
Tim Burton.
Work with those directors more than once?
Johnny makes it easy to work with.
Foundation.
Your Honor, he's laid the foundation. He's worked with Mr. Depp for 25 years on more than 10 feature films.
And relevance.
No, I'll allow it. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Right
Why did
after they
you,
make the argument that they come in with 87 other things
Why
they're
did you and
objecting
Mr.
on.
Depp work with those directors more than once?
Well, the directors like working for him. He comes
Objection,
with.
hearsay, move to strike.
Your Honor, you just allowed the question.
I'll allow it. Go ahead.
Johnny makes it easy to work with. He comes prepared. He knows what he wants to do with the characters, and he collaborates very well with the directors.
Is Pirates 5 one of the feature films on which you worked together with Mr. Depp?
Yes.
Was Mr. Depp ever late to the set on Pirates 5?
Yes.
Do you know why Mr. Depp was late on those occasions?
Well, arguing going on between him and Amber.
Objection, hearsay,
I'll
foundation.
sustain the objection.
Strike that. Did you communicate with crew members on the set of Pirates 5?
Every day, yes.
Was Mr. Depp's lateness a problem for the crew?
Objection calls for hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain as to what the crew may have told him.
Well, I was just asking the threshold question of whether he had spoken with the crew.
You're right. I'll sustain the objection.
Putting aside occasional lateness on the set of Pirates 5, was production of Pirates 5 ever suspended for any period of time?
Objection calls for hearsay, foundation. How would he know that?
No, if you can ask how he knew it, if only the foundation is.
How did you know whether production of Pirates 5 was ever suspended?
I was on the film. I was working on the film, so
Okay.
I know it was suspended probably for 2 or 3 weeks.
And why was it suspended for 2 or 3 weeks?
Johnny had to go back to Los Angeles because his finger had been cut off. Tip of his finger had been cut off.
Do you have any understanding of how Mr. Depp's, or the top of Mr. Depp's finger was cut off?
All right.
No, I don't know.
Okay. I'll return.
And I believe you testified that production was suspended for a period of 2 or 3 weeks did there come a time when Mr. Depp returned from Los Angeles to Australia for completion of the shooting of Pirates 5?
Yes, he did.
Who is Sean Bailey?
He's an executive at Disney.
After Mr. Depp returned to the set of Pirates 5 in Australia, what, if any, interactions did you observe between Mr. Depp and Mr. Daly?
Sean had come to set one day and sat and talked with Johnny for a while, and they talked about collaborating and doing some stuff in the future.
Was it a friendly conversation?
Absolutely, yes.
Has Mr. Depp ever worn an earpiece in any of the many movies in which you've worked with him?
Yes.
For what purpose are earpieces generally used by actors on sets?
Well, I've worked with,
Objection, Your Honor. First of all, relevance, foundation,
What's the relevance?
hearsay.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Okay, sure.
Mr. Wyatt, has Mr. Depp ever worn an earpiece in any of the movies in which you've worked with him?
Objection leading.
I'll allow it.
And he already answered it anyway, but.
That's okay. I'll allow it.
yes, he has.
When was the first time you used an earpiece with Mr. Depp?
First time we used it was on a movie he was directing called The Brave. We were doing a scene with Marlon Brando, who wears an earpiece for receiving his dialogue.
Objection.
I'll allow it. That's fine. Go ahead.
Marlon uses an earpiece for his dialogue, and it was a long shooting day, and we let Johnny, as the director, let Marlon go after we shot Marlon's section of the film, and then for Johnny's character to act against something other than just a blank nothing, we put Marlon's performance in an earpiece into Johnny so he could act up against Marlon's performance.
Did Mr. Depp ever use an earpiece for some other purpose other than listening to Mr. Brando's dialogue?
After that, we started using an earpiece all the time where Johnny would listen to music while acting. We would play all different kinds of music depending on the character he was playing. He and I would talk about it beforehand, and sometimes it'd be classical, sometimes it'd be rock, sometimes it would be blues. It depended on the character.
To what extent, if any, did you and Mr. Depp use that process in other movies on which you worked together?
We used that on every movie.
Mr. Wyatt, on those occasions, in addition to feeding Mr. Depp music, did you ever read lines to him?
Yes.
Why did you read lines to Mr. Depp?
Johnny typically likes to go into makeup in the morning and write his own dialogue and rewrite his dialogue. So sometimes there's not enough time to always to remember the lines and learn them. So I would remind him in his ear sometimes while music was playing at the same time.
And Mr. Wyatt, in your long experience working with Mr. Depp on films, how would you describe his level of preparedness on the set?
He's absolutely prepared. He knows what he wants the character to be. He collaborates with the director on what his ideas are, but he always comes very prepared.
And Mr. Wyatt, during your long relationship with Mr. Depp, what, if any, opportunity have you had to observe his sense of humor?
Quite often.
How would you describe to the jury Mr. Depp's sense of humor?
He likes like a British humor. Sometimes a little dark, maybe. He likes plays on words, that sort of thing.
Monty Python?
Monty Python, there's a show in England called The Fast Show, which he used to love watching.
Mr. Wyatt, what, if any, relationship do you have with Mr. Depp outside of your working relationship?
We're close. I used to, after a film, sometimes he'd call and I would go on vacation with he and his family.
On what occasions would you go on vacation with Mr. Depp and his family?
He would call after a film, and he would be going away with the kids and Vanessa, and he would say, "Hey, we're going to the island. Would you come with me?" and stuff. Or, "We're going to France. Would you come along?" And sure, why not?
Would you please give the jury Vanessa's full name?
Vanessa Paradis.
And would you please tell the jury who she is?
She is the mother of Johnny's two kids, Jack and Lily Rose.
And Mr. Wyatt, on how many occasions, if you can recall, did you accompany Mr. Depp, Ms. Paradis, and Johnny's two children on vacation?
Several times.
On those several occasions where you accompanied them on vacation, did you ever observe Mr. Depp and Vanessa interact with each other?
Sure. Yes.
Would you please tell the jury what you observed?
They were a loving couple, and everything was fine. Yeah, it was a family.
Did you ever hear or see Mr. Depp yell or raise his voice at Vanessa Paradis, the mother of his children?
Not that I recall.
Did you ever, on any occasion, see Mr. Depp physically abuse Vanessa?
Never.
And I believe you testified, Mr. Wyatt, that Mr. Depp's and Ms. Paradis' children, Lily Rose and Jack, were there on those vacations. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you have occasion to observe Mr. Depp's interactions with his children?
Sure. Yes.
Would you please describe for the jury very briefly Mr. Depp's interactions with his children, Jack and Lily Rose?
He was a very loving father. He used to do stuff with the kids all the time, going swimming at the island and teaching them scuba diving and, just drawing, a lot of drawing, doing artwork.
Did he ever yell or raise his voice at his children?
Not that I recall. Nothing that stands out, no.
Mr. Wyatt, on what, if any, occasions have you seen Mr. Depp drink alcohol?
Oh, we drink alcohol quite often.
And on those occasions in which you had alcohol with Mr. Depp, how, if at all, did his behavior change?
I don't remember it changing at all. I don't remember him changing.
It didn't make him angry?
No. Sleepy.
Have you ever seen Mr. Depp use drugs?
I've seen him take pills. Don't know what they were. I wouldn't know what they were, but that's all.
Based on your observations, when you have seen him taking pills, how, if at all, did the taking of pills affect his behavior?
I didn't see any change in Johnny. I don't recall anything changing.
Mr. Wyatt, do you know the defendant in this case, Ms. Amber Heard?
Yes.
When did you first meet Ms. Heard?
On the set of Rum Diary.
On how many occasions, if at all, did you see Ms. Heard after that?
Several times.
Would you please describe for the jury very briefly your relationship with Ms. Heard after you saw her the first few times?
I mean, I don't really have a relationship with her. We didn't sit and talk. I didn't hang out with her or anything like that.
Did there come a time when you became aware that Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard were romantically involved?
Yes.
How often did you see Mr. Depp after he started the romantic relationship with Ms. Heard?
Oh, I don't recall. I didn't see him that often, but I don't recall how often, but I didn't see him that much.
How often were you together? Strike that. How often did you interact with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard when the two of them were together?
Just only occasionally did I see him, and I would leave him alone, let him have his time with Amber. I wasn't into interfering.
And on those occasions where you interacted with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard as a couple, did you ever hear Mr. Depp yell at or raise his voice to Ms. Heard?
No,
On what occasions, if any, did he ever raise his hand to or otherwise abuse Ms. Heard?
I've never seen him be violent towards anybody.
And if we could, did there come switch gears here, did there come a time in May 2014 when you traveled with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard by private plane from Boston to Los Angeles?
Yes.
Who else was on that Boston plane flight?
It was Amber and Johnny, Stephen, Savannah, and Jerry Judge and myself.
And would you please tell the jury who is Stephen?
Stephen Duders is Johnny's assistant.
Who is Savannah?
Savannah was Amber's assistant.
And I think the jury has heard the name Jerry Judge, but if you could please explain to the jury again who Jerry Judge is.
Jerry Judge is Johnny's security.
Mr. Wyatt, why were you on that flight that night?
I don't know the exact circumstances of that flight. I didn't travel with the two of them that often. I was probably headed back to Los Angeles to see my daughter.
And before you got on the flight, how did you arrive at the airport that night?
We came in a car.
When you say you came in the car, with whom did you come in the car?
It was Jerry, Stephen, Nathan, Johnny, and myself.
And who is Nathan?
Nathan is Johnny's other assistant, Nathan Holmes.
What, if any, alcohol or drugs did you see Mr. Depp take while on the car ride to the airport?
On the car ride, I don't recall anything being taken. Johnny, I know, had called Jack during the car ride to talk to him, to tell him we were on our way. And we were listening to the World Cup that was going on at the time.
And if you could just remind the jury who Jack is?
Jack is Johnny's little boy.
When you and Mr. Depp and the security personnel arrived at the plane, who, if anyone, was there at the plane?
The plane had come from New York with Amber and Savannah already on it.
What, if anything, did you observe about Ms. Heard's behavior on that Boston flight?
Well, she was giving Johnny the cold shoulder, being quiet, and seemed pouty.
What, if any, conversation did you have with Ms. Heard on the flight?
At one point, I went up to her and said something to the effect of, he cares about you. And all of a sudden, she snapped and started yelling at me, "How dare you talk to me? Get away from me." So I went back to a seat and minded my own business.
When she said those things to you, would you describe the tone of her voice if you remember it?
She was abruptly loud. It was a quiet plane. All of a sudden, it got very loud.
And I believe you testified you went back to your seat or you moved. What happened next?
Johnny had said something to her like, "Don't talk to my friend that way." And I just stayed in my seat and finished the rest of the flight.
And after you went back to your seat, to what extent, if any, were you able to see Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
I was able to see them very clearly.
What, if any, violence or physical altercation did you observe between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard once you'd gone back to your seat?
I've never seen Johnny be violent towards anybody.
To what extent, if any, did you observe Mr. Depp or Ms. Heard hit, kick, or throw anything at each other on the plane?
No, I don't recall that at all.
Mr. Wyatt, was Mr. Depp consuming any alcohol on that flight?
Sure, yes.
Did he seem intoxicated?
Seem intoxicated? No, he seemed like Johnny. No, he seemed normal.
Did there come a time, Mr. Wyatt, when you learned that Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard were getting married to each other?
Yes.
How did you find out about that there would be a wedding?
I was at the Infinitum office, and Christy came to me and said, "Hey,
I'm just asking, it's not for the proof. I'm just asking him how he found out about the wedding.
All right, what's the relevance?
May we approach, Your Honor?
Okay.
Hey, Lupe, I just wanted to say hi while I had it, while we have a second. Thank you guys all. I want to thank everybody for being here. Nonstop Mom, I know you can't chat because you got to work, but I'm glad you're here. I'd also like to know the relevance of this, not because I'm disputing that there is any, I'm just nosy. It must have something to do with something, or they wouldn't be asking. So now I need to know.
Mr. Wyatt, did you end up attending the wedding?
Yes, I did.
Where was that? Where did the wedding take place?
There's two weddings, one at Betty Sue's house, Johnny's mom's house, and then another one on the island. The one on the island I did not attend.
What, if anything, did you observe at the Los Angeles ceremony that you attended at Betty Sue,
Betty
Mr.
Sue's
Depp's
house?
mother's house?
It was all very quick. I mean, we all found out about it at the last moment. There was a bit of confusion. Johnny had a friend from out of town and she wasn't sure what was going on. Little Jack didn't understand what was going on.
I'll sustain this. Other people, go ahead.
What, if anything, did you observe about Ms. Heard's demeanor at the ceremony?
She was very happy-go-lucky. She was all dressed up. All of her friends were nicely dressed up and ready for a wedding.
Have you ever, in the course of your interactions with Ms. Heard, ever seen any marks, injuries, or bruises on her?
I have not, no.
During the decades that you have known Mr. Depp, to what extent, if any, are you aware of any woman other than Ms. Heard accusing him of abuse?
I'll allow it.
I've never seen Johnny abuse anybody, ever.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wyatt. That's all I have right now.
Well, we're going to take our break. All right, let's go ahead and take our morning break for 15 minutes. Do not say anything.
Hey,
do not talk to me about the
Melanie.
case, and don't.
All right. Now, let me just say that while we take our morning break, that I found his testimony to be important. Let's see what they have for cross-examination. I'm sure that they're going to go into more of his behavior on set, although that may be somewhat difficult given the fact that they're incessantly objecting on the basis of hearsay. So if he's already testified as to what he believes to be, and frankly, I believe him, but that's just my opinion. But anyway, bottom line is this: he's already testified to his knowledge about why Johnny was late to the set of Pirates of the Caribbean. He has testified already to any behaviors related to drinking or drug use and violence. So I'm not exactly sure what they're going to even talk to him about. Maybe they'll bring up something from a deposition and try to impeach his testimony. I don't know, to be quite honest with you. What I also liked at the beginning of this is the question about his employment with Johnny Depp. And the reason I like that is because Amber Heard's side is really basically has said so many times that these people are testifying on Johnny Depp's behalf, and she used the term, well, not she didn't, Amber Heard used an analogy to the Titanic, that in essence, Johnny Depp would be the Titanic, and his behavior, good or bad, could result in loss of income for the employees of the Titanic. And so, if he were to lose this lawsuit, essentially he would have a significant loss in income, not just because of the amount of the judgment, but also because the court of public opinion, and then not, that goes to, his employability. I don't even know if that's a word, but today it is, in future films, right? We already saw what these accusations did to his film career as it relates to the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. We saw what it meant for not just for the Fantastic Beasts film series. And the truth is, if he were to lose this case, his income is going to continue to be significantly impacted. And so their whole premise is that these people are being trotted out in front of the jury, but they're essentially bought and paid for witnesses. And I don't think that that is the case. I don't think that the gentleman that just testified, Keenan, I don't find that he's a bought and paid for witness. And the person that I believe the most out of all of this that are friends of Johnny Depp's was Isaac, because just the way he handled the situation with when he found out about the divorce and he saw the pictures and he heard the allegations, the first thing he did was basically to tell Amber Heard, we can't talk no more. My name is Paul, and that is between y'all. And if he were, like I said before, a sycophant or not an actual friend to Johnny Depp, he would have listened and entertained Amber and then taken whatever it was that she said to him and ran back to Johnny Depp with it, just so that he would still be of, for lack of a better word, a value to him. So I don't, and the thing of it is that this is Hollywood we're talking about. All right. And you guys, we all pay attention to the gossip and stuff like that goes around Hollywood. And if you think back to other Hollywood scandals, right? Once there is one story, the floodgates then open, right? And everyone who has a story comes and gives their story. And what I'm very shocked about is that with Johnny Depp, there aren't those. There have been other cases of abuses in Hollywood. And once one victim comes forward, hey, not ya mama. Once one victim comes forward, it gives strength to the other victims and they come forward, right? Obviously, conversely, you could say if somebody wanted to take advantage of a situation like this, and you have those people too. And that's just the truth of the matter. But this has not happened with Johnny Depp. And I feel like it would have. Okay. You could, let's rule out his wife, ex-wife, right? And let's even rule out Winona Ryder. Okay, well, and Kate Moss. All right, let's just rule those people out as far as coming and relaying a story. Do you know how many people are employed on a movie set at any given time? And how many people that are hey, recliner detective, that are employed on a movie set at any given time? How many of those people have direct interaction with the people starring in the movie? It's preposterous to think that these people are so intimidated or frightened or worried about their paycheck or whatever the claim may be, that they are not going to come forward and speak about something that they've witnessed, and the fact that they haven't, just, in my opinion, it just substantiates that he isn't like that. I don't, I'm finding it very difficult to buy any of the accusations coming from Amber Heard. I just am. So I'm very, I don't know. I'm just not believing it. Now to be fair, I am keeping an open mind in that, and I'm still checking, they're not back yet. I am keeping an open mind. I am curious as to what evidence there is going to be presented by the defense, because to be fair, this is the plaintiff's case in chief, right? So, hold on a second. You want to do a poll? What should the poll be, recliner detective? Let me get over to the YouTubes so I can do it. I wonder if I can do it from my phone. Hold on. I don't think I can. Let me see. No. All right. All right. We shall do a poll. I mean, bottom line is, I get that this is Johnny Depp's side of things, and so therefore, it's going to be, more pro him, the evidence, obviously. But I will say this: yesterday, when the nurse was on the stand, I actually, again, found her. I don't know how to put this. I don't know. I'm not going to say it was her actual testimony, because that wouldn't be accurate to say. But what I will say is that, because it was really more of it was her deposition. But what I'll say is, more than anything, her notes, I found those to be quite credible, in that they weren't. I found them to be honest, and because they were good. They had negative and positive things about Johnny Depp and his behavior in them. All right, so let me make this poll real quick. I can't talk and type at the same time. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. All right, here we go. All right. There's the poll. They're still not back. Exactly, nonstop mom. And I thought that putting Dr. Kimber, his deposition up and asking about the note taking process. Not They didn't want like step by step, like what is the note taking process with respect to your staff or your nurses, but more, do you tell them what to take down and what not to take down? And I felt that that was very important because, as Nonstop Mom points out, um, the way that you, what I learned in coding school was this: if it's not documented, it didn't happen, and therefore it can't be built. So their healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, ancillary staff, all of those things are very careful and meticulous when it comes to documenting things. Not to mention the fact that doctors and nurses are mandated reporters. So if they were to see or have abuse reported to them by either party in this case, regardless of who they were providing health care to in that specific moment, they would absolutely have to talk about. I mean, they would have to document it and they would be mandated to report it, period. So the fact that it isn't in the notes tells me at the very least, A, they didn't witness anything, which is what they testified to. Nothing, no actions or anything like that. But B, that it also wasn't reported to them, which I think is important because it goes to credibility. And more importantly, it goes to their, not just their credibility as a witness, but more their objectivity as a witness. So at the end of the day, and I have to agree with you too, Amelia Sparkles. This is the thing that when I was watching yesterday, I was obviously, you can't help but watch the chat, but then low key, I had to turn it off because the chat was obstructing Johnny Depp because I was watching it. Hey, Sam, on the TV. And I wanted to see him because I like him when he wears his hair back. I know I have issues. This has literally nothing to do with anything other than just, Jen Lu. But anyway, people were very confused and a little bit annoyed with her answers of I don't recall. And the thing about that is that a lot of her testimony was going to be based around what she documented. And it is much easier it's better to say that you don't recall than to testify incorrectly and later have your testimony be impeached. And that is what I will say. Okay, but let me ask you this, Nonstop Mom. At one point, Dr. Kimber was also Amber Heard's doctor. And the nurse was also Amber's nurse. And so I feel like if Amber went directly to either one of those two and made a claim of abuse, I feel that they would be obligated and they would report it. I also feel that if Johnny Depp had gone to either one of them and had an outcry of abuse, they would document it. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that I don't think that what the I don't find what the defense was trying to do with respect to those two was effective, frankly. It did not change my opinion. Of course, the poll is a landslide. Let me look. Oh, I can't even see the poll. Cripes. I don't want to log into hey, Paula Walking, good to see you. All right. I don't like how I can't see my poll. Hold on. Let me just do this real quick. I'm still waiting for them to come back. Nothing yet. Thank you, GK. Welcome. Hey, while we're on a I forgot what I was saying. Oh, while we're on a break, could you guys take a moment, please, and give your girl a thumbs up? I would so much appreciate it. But anyway, they didn't the people in the chat didn't really care for Johnny Depp to yeah, nobody is yeah, it is definitely a landslide. 23 votes, 100% for Johnny Depp. And I'm okay, I want to hear all the testimony, and I really want to hear Johnny Depp's testimony, but the truth is I actually kind of want to get to the end. Thank you guys so much, because I want to know what the jury has to say, right? And I want to know, I want them to be, I feel like the jury would be down for an interview after something like this. And so now I want to know why they thought what they thought and why they voted the way they voted. Know what I mean? Like, that's the part I'm looking for. I'm always like 10 steps ahead on a trial. What's coming next? I want to know all of those things because I'm basically nosy, and let's be honest, you guys are too, or none of us would be watching this, because let's also be honest, this ain't none of our business, right? Like, we are nosy, and that's why we like true crime, because we like to figure stuff out and find the whys and the what fors. So I'm curious how I want to know, honestly. I would love it if if you could poll the jury in the middle. Hey, Vicky. I do too. We all do. Okay, they're back. Please hold. I hope I wish they could be polled now to see how they're feeling about all of this in this moment. Let me unmute them and let me set it to the end of stream. Obviously, there's a sidebar. Me too, Angry Mimi. I want to know all of the things. And it's not enough for me to just be able to ask a question. I'm going to need for the court to allow extra questions based on the answers.
Okay. Okay, yes.
Because that's how I roll. I am too, Paula Walking. I am enjoying this judge. I find her to be fair, frankly, which is what a judge is supposed to be. And patient, which I also like. Because I don't have a lot of patience. I mean, it depends on the circumstances, but generally speaking, I don't think any of my friends would really say Jen Lou is the most patient person I know. I don't even think my friends would say Jen Lou is the 30th most patient person I know. I'm probably down the list like, I don't know, 35 or 40th. You know what I'm saying? I can be patient sometimes,
All right, cross-examination.
but not when I want to know
Thank you,
things.
Your Honor.
All right, here we go.
Now, Mr. White, you testified that you've been a sound technician for pretty much most of your career, right?
Yes.
Okay. And let's go to that Marlon Brando. That he used an earpiece for his lines to be fed to him, correct, at that
Yes.
time? And when was that? When was The Brave filmed?
Mid-90s.
Okay. And so ever since then, Mr. Depp has thought it was a good idea and has used an earpiece, correct?
He is used in earpiece, yes.
Okay. And you're the person who controls what goes into his earpiece, is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. So it could be music, it can be lines, it can be
Yes.
anything, right?
Yes,
Okay. And you have been his sound technician since the 1990s, all the way up through at least 2016, correct?
there's been a couple of us, yes.
Okay, but you actually have been on almost all his movies, haven't you?
Been on most of them, probably,
Okay, and in
yes.
fact, not only are you his personal sound technician, but you are named in his contracts as his sound technician, correct?
I don't know that.
Okay, well, let's pull up exhibit number, let's go to 633. And I'm going to show you what has been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 633, and it's the contract for Pirates of the Caribbean from August 2022. Do you see that?
Objection, lack of
August.
foundation.
I'm sorry?
Lack of foundation.
I didn't get his answer.
I'll allow it. Go ahead.
I see it. It says August 2002.
We
Let's
don't
turn to
judge on the
page
word,
16.
GK. You write it however it ends up being written. Don't you worry.
Actually, the one before that, it's two before that, I think. There we go. Do you see where it says location assistant?
Yes,
Okay. And if you go down, it has your name specifically on there. Does it not say Keenan Wyatt?
yes,
Okay. And on this
Along-
particular one, it has Sam Sarker and Keenan Wyatt. Do you see that?
yes.
But eventually it just became Keenan Wyatt in all the contracts, right?
I do not know. I don't know.
Okay. And then as part of this, in each of Mr. Depp's contracts, he had what you were going to get paid, correct?
I don't know what's in his contract.
Okay. Well, on this one, it was $14.28 per hour, correct?
Lack of foundation, Your Honor.
Well, he doesn't know this contract. If you want to frame
Okay.
it, it's a different question.
Well, you, on every one of his contracts, had an hourly rate and a guarantee of at least 60 hours a week, right?
Calls for speculation, lack of foundation.
Surely he has to know how he was getting paid on
If
these.
you want to ask that question.
Do you know how you were getting paid on each of these films?
Yes,
Okay.
I
And-
get paid through a payroll company from the production companies.
Okay. And these were all negotiated by Mr. Depp, correct?
No,
Or his
I'm
company.
paid by the union sets the rate for me.
Right. But you're aware that Mr. Depp has negotiated it and put you into his contracts,
Lack of
correct?
foundation calls for
I
speculation.
can,
I'll allow that answer if he can answer it.
Sorry.
You want to ask
you're
the
aware.
question again? Go ahead.
You're aware that Mr. Depp has put you into each of his contracts, including how much you get paid and all
Well-
of your perks, right?
I see it here, but when I'm hired by a production company, I get paid by the production company at my union rate for the job that I'm doing. That's not the rate I make when I'm working on a production.
They're trying to
Okay,
establish that
All right,
he
well,
is an
let's,
employee
Let's stay on this one just for a
for
minute, and then
Johnny
we'll take a
Depp,
look
and
at a couple more,
therefore
because you ended up with a lot higher rate pretty soon.
prejudice in his
But you
testimony.
also had your airfare paid for,
That
correct?
he has a vested
travel.
Yes.
You
interest in the
also
outcome
were
of
put
this
up In the
case.
same hotel as Mr. Depp, if he was in a hotel, correct?
Not necessarily all the time.
Right, and if he was in a house, then you got a comparable hotel close by, right?
I got a place to stay wherever we were filming, yes.
And it was comparable.
Comparable to
to-
Johnny's?
It
No.
was a positive, it was a nice hotel, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, productions, we usually stayed at nice hotels.
Okay, so is it your testimony that you didn't know that you were named specifically and the terms of your compensation and your benefits were in every single one of Mr. Depp's contracts?
did not.
Objection
I
asked
didn't.
and answered several times, Your Honor.
It has not, and I,
I'll allow this.
I did not know it was in
Okay.
the contract.
Next question.
okay, let's go take a look real quick. I'm gonna flip over to 855. And this is a contract December 4, 2008 with Paramount Pictures for Rango. Do you recall that?
Yes,
And you were his sound technician there, correct?
yes,
And if we turn to page 12, which is the second one, if you look down there, your name is right there. You're designated as sound technician, correct? Do you see that?
yes,
All right, and then let's flip to the next page. And that has 3,500 per week, correct?
Lack of foundation.
Do you remember getting $3,500 a week?
I get whatever the weekly rate is for the union position that I'm doing. I don't know, at this time, I don't recall what the rate was. I don't know if that's what I got or not, but I got what the union set as my minimum rate.
Okay, and again, you didn't know that Mr. Depp negotiated this into his
No.
contract? Okay, and then if we go down a little bit further here, it has you round trip, coach class transportation.
Hey, Chick Tracy.
You see that?
Yes,
And then it has hotel accommodations and per diem on the same basis as the crew of the picture on this one, correct?
yes, but we were in, Rango was in Los Angeles, so none of that would have taken
Right, so,
place.
so
Yeah.
it was a lot easier. Then let's jump to plaintiff's exhibit 842. And this is Pirates of the Caribbean, July 2014. This would be for 5, right?
Your Honor, lack of foundation. These are contracts to which
Right.
Mr. Wyatt was not a party.
Your Honor, it's not offered to prove the truth of the contract. It's
And what is it offered for?
what's, all right, well, let me ask it this way. For Pirates 5, you were in, what was your hotel accommodations?
I was staying in a condominium that the rest of the crew was staying in.
Okay, and how much were you getting paid on Pirates 5?
Whatever the union minimum was for my job.
Do you have any idea what it was?
No, I don't recall.
Okay,
I'd have to
And-
look it up.
and were you aware that your compensation and benefits were in Mr. Depp's Pirates contract?
No, I did not.
All right. Now, let's go to Pirates 5 in particular. I think you testified that Mr. Depp was he occasionally late a lot to the set?
I don't recall. I mean, he was late, yes.
There were days he didn't show up at all, weren't there?
Could have been, I don't recall.
And there were days that he didn't show up for 6, 7 hours, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And in fact, he wasn't showing up before Amber ever got to Australia, isn't that correct?
I don't know that.
Do you recall him going on a binge with Marilyn Manson for a few days?
Objection,
I-
lack of foundation.
Do you don't
I'll allow
recall
it.
that? I'm sorry, do you recall?
No, I don't recall.
You don't recall one way or the other, or you just?
No, I didn't visit Johnny when we were in Australia. So I don't know.
Okay, so you
He
don't
had a
know-
house, I had a condominium in town.
So you don't know what was causing Johnny to be late or whether he was taking a lot of alcohol and drugs? Is
No.
that fair to say?
Yes,
Okay. And you said that
Thank you, Melanie.
observed Johnny Depp talking with Sean Bailey after he came back. And let's go to that. You said there was a 2 to 3 week delay. In fact, it was closer to 5 to 6 weeks, wasn't it?
I don't recall what it was.
It's pretty
I flew-
significant when the entire crew has to stop for that period of
The
time.
crew-
isn't it?
Objection to Ms. Redehoff's testimony.
All right, I'll sustain the objection and ask the question.
It's pretty significant, isn't it, when there's a delay?
It's significant. I don't think the film completely shut down for all of that. They continued to shoot what they could.
How many of the crew members were impacted by Johnny not being able to be there after after the finger was cut off?
Well, there was the crew, some of the crew, I'm sure, still kept working and filming other scenes without Johnny's character in it.
Do you know how many were impacted?
No, I don't.
Do you know how much Disney was impacted?
I don't.
Okay, so now you say when he came back, he collaborated with Sean Bailey, right?
Yes.
And they were talking about how they were going to get together on something, right?
Yes.
Did Johnny do anything with Sean Bailey for the rest of 2015?
I don't know about that year, but I know that they talked about collaborating and doing something. Sean and Johnny had worked out, Johnny working at.
Mr. White, if you can just answer my question.
Your Honor, may the witness
No,
please,
no.
she asked the question,
I
he
asked,
should be
did
able,
he collaborate in 2015?
Your Honor, may he be allowed to
Yes,
please
let him,
finish
let
his
him finish
answer?
the question, answer. Sorry, go ahead.
Johnny and Sean put together Johnny dressing up as Captain Jack and addressing the crowd at the Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to strike and ask you to ask that to be stricken. That is not responsive to my question.
Your Honor, she asked him the question. Should she?
That's not the question she asked him. You want to ask your question again?
Yes. Did Mr. Bailey collaborate on any projects with Mr. Depp in 2015 after Pirates 5?
The one I just said, the project that was a promotional project for
Was it a
Pirates of
film?
the Caribbean. Was it filmed?
Yeah.
I think it was videotaped or filmed, yes.
Was it a feature film that
No,
Disney
it wasn't
made
a
money
feature
on?
film.
No. All right. Let's go to 2016. Did Sean Bailey collaborate on
I
any
don't
film
know.
project with Mr. Depp?
I don't know.
Let's go to 2017.
I don't
Did
know.
Mr. Bailey collaborate with Mr. Depp on any film project?
I don't know the timing of the other things. No, I don't know if he did or not.
Let's go to 2018. Did Mr. Bailey collaborate at all with Mr. Depp in 2018?
I don't know.
Were you aware that Mr. Bailey said that Mr. Depp was, quote, out, end of quote, for Pirate 6 in
Objection,
October of 2018?
hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain as the hearsay.
Okay, let's pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 115.
You said plaintiff's 115?
Plaintiff's 115. Oh, defendants, I'm sorry. It's defendants.
115.
I have to agree with what you guys are saying as far as the attempt of the defense
Now, this is an
to.
article.
I find this to be an emotional
In,
manipulation on the part of the
October
defense
2018.
dragging Marilyn
Do you recall
Manson
seeing
into
this
it.
article?
No.
Frankly,
You never saw it?
I don't read
Okay.
I don't read these
All right, so-
stories and stuff like that.
So would it be
I'm-
fair to say that you don't know whether Mr. Bailey had determined that Mr. Depp would not be in Pirates 6 as of October of 2018?
Yeah, I don't know, especially based on this. I don't believe this stuff anyway.
Okay, we can take that down. Thank you.
I'm curious to know if there would be the same reaction
let's
from the
talk
jury if
about
they used Marilyn Manson's
your
government name.
Visits
Brian
with
Warner.
Vanessa and the kids and Mr. Depp. You indicated you went on some vacations with them, correct?
Yes,
They were together for 14 years,
I
right?
suspect
How
not.
many vacations did you go on with them?
several. I don't know all of them.
2, 3,
Did you write it
Probably
down
more
in
than
your
that.
diary?
4?
Probably more than that. I don't know. Half a dozen.
Okay, we get to 6? Okay,
Yeah.
6 to 12? All
Yeah.
right. And these are all vacations, right?
After filming, yes,
Okay, so these are times where everybody's having fun, relaxing. It's not your regular,
yes,
day-to-day grind that everybody goes through, right?
yes.
Okay. Now, you have no personal knowledge of whether Mr. Depp ever physically abused Vanessa Paradis, correct?
None that I ever saw.
Right. But you have no knowledge one way. You don't know, do you?
None that I saw.
Right.
Correct.
Right. You don't know what went on in their marriage and their relationship
No.
when you weren't there, correct?
Not when I was there, no.
Okay. And they split up, right?
Yes.
Do you know why they split up?
No, I do not.
Ever heard?
You don't know if Mr. Depp yelled or raised his voice at Vanessa Paradis on a daily basis when you weren't around, do you?
Not when I wasn't around. I don't know.
All right, and then you were asked at the very end by Mr. Chu whether you had ever heard of any woman accusing Mr. Depp of violence, and you said you'd never heard of anyone accusing Mr. Depp of violence. Do you recall
Correct.
that? Have you ever heard of Greg Brooks?
I don't know.
He's a
no.
manager on a set from City of Lies who's
Okay.
filed a lawsuit against Mr. Depp for punching
Your
him.
Honor, lack of foundation and
That's fair
object
game, Your
to
Honor.
Ms. Redehoff's speechifying.
All right, I'll allow it. He's
Ooh.
good.
I
I
don't know
I
about
mean,
that,
I
Your
don't know
Honor.
what happened. I've
Have
never
you ever
seen,
heard of
I've
that?
never seen him be violent to anybody.
But you testified you'd never heard of that. So had you ever heard of Greg Brooks accusing Mr. Depp of punching him on the set of City of Lies?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it. I don't know any basis of it, though.
So it's not true that you've never heard of anyone accusing Mr. Depp of violence, is it?
I suppose not.
Okay. And you don't know whether Mr. Depp committed any domestic abuse or violence on any of the women in his relationships, do you?
I never witnessed it.
Right. You don't have personal knowledge, though, do you?
Only what I've witnessed, and I've never witnessed it.
Right. You don't know what went on behind closed doors
I
with
do
any of
not.
them. Okay. Now let's go to the Boston plane. This was in May of 2014. So you were in the car with Mr. Depp before he got on the plane.
Yes.
How long was he in that car?
How long were we in the car?
Yes.
I don't recall. 45 minutes, an hour, maybe? I don't recall.
You sat on the tarmac for quite some time before getting on the plane.
But you
didn't
didn't ask
don't
that.
recall.
You asked
You
about
don't
the
recall that?
car.
No,
Okay. And is it your testimony that Mr. Depp wasn't drinking anything while he was in the car?
not in the car, no.
Had Mr. Depp been drinking anything before he got into the car?
I don't know. I wasn't with him before.
Is it your testimony that Mr. Depp didn't take any drugs while he was in the car?
Not that I recall.
Do you know whether he took any drugs before he got in the car?
I wasn't with him before we got in the car.
All right. And I think you testified in response to the question that you didn't think that he was intoxicated or high.
No, I mean, he seemed like Johnny.
Did he take any Red Bulls that you saw?
Took any what?
Red Bulls.
Red Bulls? I don't know. There was occasion where he would drink Red Bulls. I don't know if that was the same time or not.
All right. Was he drinking vodka with any Red Bulls?
I don't know.
Was he drinking whiskey?
I don't know.
Was he taking cocaine?
I've never seen it. No,
Did you see any powders?
no.
So you get on the airplane and it's your testimony that Ms. Heard had a bad tone of voice with Mr. Depp. Is that correct?
She had a bad tone of voice with me.
Okay. In fact, wasn't Mr. Depp saying pretty horrible things to Ms. Heard?
I don't recall that.
Like, get fucked on set, get fucked with fucking James fucking Franco? Did you hear that?
I don't recall.
Did you hear him say, at least you fucking liked it?
No,
Did you hear him say, I bet you slipped a tongue in there and you liked it?
no.
Did you hear him say, make references to Amber's pussy and ask her if her
Oh
pussy was wet?
my.
Your Honor, lack of foundation,
No.
harassment.
Did you hear any of that?
No, not that I recall.
I'll
Okay.
overrule the objection. It's fine.
Thank
Next
you.
question.
Now, you shared an oxygen tank with Mr. Depp on that Boston plane, didn't you?
No,
You don't recall Mr. Depp insisting that the flight attendant give him an oxygen tank and the two of you used it?
no.
Okay. Do you recall Mr. Depp drinking champagne on the plane?
I don't know what he was drinking. I'm sure I was having wine. He could have been having champagne.
Do you remember him drinking a couple bottles of champagne?
I don't know how much.
And it's your testimony that Mr. Depp didn't kick Amber?
I didn't see anything like that.
Okay. Did you see Mr. Depp go to the back of the plane and pass out and moan loudly?
I don't recall that.
You don't recall that either?
No.
Okay. Can we pull up Defendant's Exhibit 245, please?
Hang on.
And Your Honor, I show no objection to it in the filings. So I'm going to move the admission of it, and I'm going to ask it to be published.
No. Any objection to 245?
Yes, Your Honor, it's improper impeachment. It's not to him.
All right, if you want to approach, we'll see what your objections, you have your list of objections from your exhibits.
I'm totally going to go find what it is that they're trying to show in an attempt to impeach his testimony. Um, First of all, let me just state for the record, I wasn't prepared for that testimony, or I'm sorry, that line of questioning, as it were. I don't think any of us were. And also, I don't understand the significance of the question respective to doing oxygen. Put a 1 in the chat if you breathe. You're doing oxygen. I mean, I don't understand what the point is. It would be different if it was laughing gas. Okay, that would be something I would be a little taken aback by. Oh, we're doing the laughing gas, but to make something I just can't move past this doing oxygen. I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, it's doing oxygen, not like doing whippets.
Mr. White, are you aware that Mr. Deuters apologized to Amber for Mr. Depp's conduct afterwards?
Lack of
After the
foundation,
Boston Pet
hearsay, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection.
I
Next
don't
question.
believe they're going to let in that.
Where did you go? Were you with Mr. Depp
Excuse
after
me,
you
Your Honor.
left the plane?
I apologize. May we take this down?
It's just on the witness, but yes. Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you leave the plane with Mr. Depp?
I mean, I got off the plane at the same time. I'm assuming I went to my own home.
Okay, and what was Mr. Depp's state?
I don't recall.
You don't recall if he was passed out or not?
No.
When you say you don't recall, as you're sitting here today under oath, you honestly can't remember if Mr. Depp was passed out
I
when
mean,
you
there was-
left the plane?
There was-
Asked and answered, Your Honor.
All right. I'll allow it this one time. Go ahead. You can answer, sir.
There was lots of plane flights. I mean, the only reason I remember this one was because Amber yelled at me on that flight.
Do you remember my question?
I don't recall.
All right.
I mean,
so-
I could have gotten off the plane and just left. I don't know.
And Mr. Depp could have kicked Amber on that plane, right?
Your Honor, asked and answered.
Not that I saw.
Okay, and he could have passed out.
Not that I recall.
Okay.
Don't you think, though, that if Johnny Depp had been passed out, first of all, let me ask you this:
How
would
many
Johnny Depp leave a
times
plane if he's
were
passed
you
out?
with
He would have been carried,
Amber
right?
and Mr. Depp together.
That would have been memorable.
No idea.
Hey, y'all, let's go to the
Well, what would
bathroom
the
and do some
circumstances have
oxygen.
been?
Invited over for something or other, or, Johnny and I may have been recording some music or something, and she was there. I don't know. At work.
Oh,
I-
were you part of
Now, you
the?
had a very close personal relationship with Christy Dabrowski, didn't you?
We're friends, yes.
Yes, and you were more than friends for quite a few years. were you
Your
not?
Honor, relevance, may we approach?
It's
All
impeachment.
right. All right, let's.
It's
well,
bias. It's bias.
Approach, please.
He must be part of the old men playing guitar crew that Amber talked about. Are you in the old man guitar playing gang, sir? Like, let's be realistic here. If I feel like if he had been carried off the plane, there would be so much more testimony about that. I don't know. I just don't believe. I don't.
Now, you testified that the wedding that you went to, the one in Los Angeles, seemed to be a little rushed.
Yes,
How long were they engaged?
I don't know.
Could it have been a pretty substantial period of time?
I don't know.
Okay, so when you say rushed,
We didn't know a wedding was going to happen.
well, and you said you were at the offices of Ad Infinitum, is that right? Okay, when you say we didn't know any wedding was going to happen, who's we?
Several of the people at the wedding didn't know it was going to happen.
Okay, okay. Now, did you know what Amber's film schedule was?
No,
Did you know whether she was out of town, coming back in and leaving again?
I did not know.
Did you know what Johnny's film schedule was?
I probably knew we were off.
Because you were his sound technician,
Yeah,
right?
we were
Okay,
starting a film
and
or ending a
when-
film or whatever, yes.
Welcome
Okay,
back,
and
Melanie.
When did you leave for Pirates 5?
I don't recall when.
Was he filming right before Pirates 5?
I don't recall.
Okay, so as soon after they did the Los Angeles wedding, they went to the Bahamas, correct?
I don't remember the time difference.
But you didn't go to that wedding.
No,
Do you know how many people did?
no.
How would
Do
he
you
know if he
how
wasn't
much
there?
Organization was involved in getting that wedding together in the Bahamas?
No, I don't know.
Do you know?
Hey, Crackling Rosie.
Whether, do you know, well, okay, I guess you don't know, so I guess I shouldn't ask you then. So as a practical matter, you don't know about any of the communications between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard for when they wanted the wedding to take place, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay,
Thank goodness.
Your Honor, I just have a few.
sure. Redirect.
All right, I'm going to tell you guys over here
Mr.
on the East
Wyatt,
Coast, it's 11:50.
testified
I think
earlier
after
that
this,
you
they'll
worked with
probably
Mr.
break for
Depp
lunch.
as his sound
And then
technician
this
on more than 10
afternoon-
feature films. Is that correct?
Correct.
Will be
Have
Johnny.
you ever worked on feature films as a sound technician or in any other capacity on films without Mr. Depp?
Yes, I have.
On those instances and those films not involving Mr. Depp, were your travel costs covered?
Yes, they are.
Were your hotel costs covered?
Yes, they are.
Was your airfare covered?
Yes.
Were those arrangements handled in any way different from the films on which you worked with Mr. Depp?
No.
What was your understanding of why Mr. Depp was late on the set to Pirates 5?
I'm just going to use your microphone.
Objection, Your Honor. He's already testified he doesn't know, and he wasn't there with him, and he doesn't know.
Directly related to the cross.
I'll allow it. Go ahead.
Sorry, say it again.
What was your understanding of why Mr. Depp was late occasionally on the set of Pirates 5?
My understanding was he was having arguments with Amber.
And the wedding that you attended, or the ceremony in Los Angeles, that was right before Mr. Depp was to start filming Pirates 5, correct?
Yes.
Is that one of the reasons Amber wanted to be married right then?
Objection, foundation, here's.
All right, foundation, I'll sustain as the foundation.
Mr. Wyatt, you've known Mr. Depp for a long time, correct?
Yes.
And you've worked with him for a long time.
Yes.
Has any woman, other than Ms. Heard, ever accused him of raising a hand to her?
Objection, Your Honor. He's already asked that beforehand, and I went into the cross with him.
Asked and answered. Sustain the, sustain
Thank
the
you, Your
objection.
Honor.
All right,
Thank you, Mr. Wyatt, and thank you, Your Honor.
All right,
Nothing further.
all right. Is this witness subject to recall? Yes. All right, sir, since you're subject to recall, you cannot discuss your testimony with anybody and do not watch anything in the news media at this time, and you may be recalled at a later date, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir. You have a good day. You're excused for today.
Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a few housekeeping matters to take care of, and also I know the cafeteria was a little rough yesterday, so I'm going to go ahead and give you an extended lunch today until 2 o'clock. So just do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research. And we'll see you back here at 2 p.m., okay? If you just go with Deputy Lisa. email that I emailed you. Tell Lucy. All right. Okay, so you said you had some housekeeping matters to take?
I'm not aware of any.
We'd like to speak with you about some things, if you have a moment.
I'm happy to chat with them, but I.
Okay, so you don't need me for that. Oh, okay. I thought you needed me for that.
So your honor gets an extended lunch.
So I get an extended lunch. Okay, well, what I'm going to do, just to let you know, actually, if you approach the bench.
Okay. So before we go, though, the one thing that I do want to say about that last witness, specifically the last question that was asked, is that I thought it was incredibly important that he ask that last question. At least ask it. I mean, the thing of it is that, to be fair, he actually didn't ask that specific question. I don't really agree with the sustaining of the objection, because what he did was he asked if he was aware of anyone. Okay, but then on the follow up redirect, it was asked about specifically a woman, which is very, very different. You know, I'm not I'm not pro smacking people, period, right? Like, that's not the way adults solve problems. Totally, I agree with that. There's a difference, though, when two men are going at it, or even two women are going at it, fighting, because they're equally matched. It's different when you're talking about domestic violence. And that is really the crux of the issue here, isn't it? It's about domestic violence. So I didn't agree that much with the objection being sustained, because I thought it was an important question to be asked. And I also thought it was an important question for the witness to be allowed to answer, because I myself would want to know that question. And also the other thing that I'm curious about is, like, I know that they're talking about the plane ride to Boston, right? Which, if it's from California, that's, all the way across the country. And I feel like that's what, 5 hour plane ride, 6 hour, I don't know, because I've never flown all the way across the country. The closest I've ever flown is from Florida, where I live, to Vegas. So, and that was like a 3 hour flight. So I would imagine, what, another couple of hours from Vegas to California. So 5, 6 hours, all the partying going on. And I know that 5 or 6 hours is a long time, but the thing is that I feel like everybody was having a good time, right? And it takes a minute for all what the defense is alleging is essentially Johnny Depp becomes a monster. Like, he's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So Mr. Hyde comes out when Johnny Depp is drinking or using drugs, be that prescription medications or illegal drugs, right? So it takes a while for all of those things to kick in, but it also takes a while for, and I don't mean like a long while, I guess it depends on the person, but I just feel like, how did he get so turned, as it were, that he passed out on the plane ride, yet had the time to be verbally and physically abusive to Amber Heard? You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like, well, yeah, Vicky, that's the other thing. This is the part of the testimony that I was annoyed with, that Gina Duders wasn't allowed because it was stricken. And it was stricken immediately after she testified to the wedding that she attended. Because at the wedding that she attended, Gina Duders is alleging that it was Amber Heard who was, instead of throwing the bouquet, she was throwing around MDA. So, Shmita, California to LA. Babe, LA is in California. So no, it would it wouldn't be a long flight, babe. Um, exactly, Paula Walking, sorry. Yeah, like, it just, there's stuff about this specific flight and the testimony surrounding it and the allegations, that don't really make, like, logical sense. Do you know what I'm saying? And I find it to be annoying because I can take the emotion of all of it out and just look at it from a purely um, logical standpoint. And I just don't, I find that it just doesn't have logic to it. And I also feel like, if somebody, if Johnny Depp was passed out the way that is alleged, wouldn't he have been carried off of the plane? So if that's the case, right, weren't there also employees that were in charge of the flight? I mean, obviously the pilot isn't paying attention to what's going on in the back, because they should be focusing on what they're supposed to be focusing on, which is operating an airplane, right? So they're not going to know. But wouldn't there have been other staff, stewardess, as it were, stewards, wouldn't flight attendants? There you go. That's a better word. Wouldn't there have been flight attendants? Okay. Wouldn't there have also then been, when they landed, right? Wouldn't there have also been employees that would have been unloading the plane, unloading the luggage. And don't you think if that were the case, that they might have noticed Johnny Depp being carried either actually physically, because he was so out of it, carried off of the plane, or at the very least helped out of the plane? And I can say yes, that it is possible that they may have signed NDAs, which would cover the flight attendant and the pilot, right? Fine. Or pilots. I get that. But the other people at the airport. So there would have been other people that would have been a witness to that would not have signed NDAs. Do you know what I mean? Like, they would not have asked the ground crew at the airport for to sign an NDA, right? I just find that there's such a gap in the testimony and what Vicky, that's what I'll do on our lunch break. I'm going to look into the validity of an NDA when you're under a subpoena, because to me, I feel like the logical, rational answer is, if you are subpoenaed, you're subpoenaed. And that means that you have no choice but to testify as to what you're asked in court, period. I mean, I suppose you could take the Fifth Amendment if you wanted to, but I don't think that works in a civil litigation. But I think that the subpoena trumps the NDA. However, I am going to look that up for verification, because I do think the right answer is that, but I want to be, sure about that. And yes, I will say that you are correct. They do come in through private gates at LAX, and I would imagine that they probably do at the larger airports as well. However, at the end of the day, there are employees at an airport, regardless of what gate you come in, what there are cameras at an airport. There are other human beings at an airport, and I feel like, if this is a situation that occurred, and this case has been a long time coming as far as all of this, like so the defense certainly had time, right, to investigate and find out who may have been there at the airport and could potentially be a witness, and go and speak to them. I mean, that's the truth here, because especially, let's take it from the defense's point of view, what they're alleging. They're basically saying that Johnny Depp is so wealthy, so well known, and so connected that nobody wants to tell the truth when it comes to what they witnessed, right? So then why wouldn't it be best for you to go out and find these witnesses that really have zero connection to either one of them? They're just regular human beings doing their jobs at an airport. I would, right? And you can, as a defense attorney or any attorney, right, doesn't matter which side you're working for, right? You can go and interview witnesses and hear their stories, and even get them on the only time that they would ever have to release who these people were would be when they when they are deposed, because then both sides would have to be present to be able to ask their questions. So there would have been time. I would have spent my time doing that, rather than spending my time, I don't know, scrolling through old social media posts to find a like, a reaction on trial on on an article about the trial that took place in the UK and passed, you know what I'm saying? So at the that's I'm curious about that. Chick Tracy, maybe that is yet to come. We'll have to see. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to end this broadcast. I'm going to, because YouTube likes to be sometimey, I'm going to go ahead and set the stream for the after lunch. I'm going to set it for 1:50, I think. Yeah, she had, not only has she been booted, Johnny Depp's side filed for her to be barred permanently, and it was granted. So, and the jury is never going to hear that, by the way, why she was barred. But because it wouldn't be allowed in as evidence. But I will say this. It does, in the court of public opinion, which we're the public, it doesn't look good for Amber Heard. It looks like she hangs with people that are not, they don't give respect to the court. They don't give respect to the process, and they don't respect the rules. And that's a problem. And I do think they should be able to hear it, but they won't, unfortunately. I mean, I'm not an attorney. I doubt that they will, is what I should say, because I don't see how they could get it in. But again, I'm more familiar with criminal cases than I am with civil. But oh gosh, what is her name? Eve. Oh, gripes. Hold on a minute. Give me just a second. I can't remember her. Hold on, let me find it. Give me just a second. By the time I find it, somebody will pop it in chat. Give me just a minute. Eve Barlow. That's who was banned. So there you go. All right, you guys. So we're going to end that for now. I'll set the stream and we will reconvene about 1:45, 1:55. I forget how StreamYard does it, but I want us all to have a moment to get in and get our seats and get comfy before they resume testimony, because this is what we've all been waiting for. So thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it so much. And I will see y'all in just a little bit. All right. Bye.